Hello Danila. In this short screencast, I'm going to give you feedback on your summary from last week. Before we start, remember we said that it's better for you not to upload a Word document. You can just work directly on Google Classroom, okay? You can use a Google Docs because it's much easier for me to leave comments on that one. So in the future, please do not upload a Word doc. Okay, so let's start with the summary. In the video, we have the title here, good. Name of the speaker, very good. Discusses the implicit biases and mental associations that we all have. Okay, I remember how we said that the first sentence should be argumentative, right? It should be basically you should include the main idea or the main argument that the speaker makes in the video. So try to force yourself to use a reporting verb like argues that or claims that, and then try to force yourself to finish the sentence. How would you finish that sentence? The speaker argues that. What is his main argument? What is his main claim? Right? That's what we need to do with the first sentence. So it will be something about implicit biases, as you note here. But what about those? What does he say about them, right? So this is what you need to include in your first sentence. Okay, furthermore, he mentions that there are 3 characteristics of implicit bias. Sure. I like the way you've used the colon here, and then you've enumerated the different characteristics, 1, 2, 3. Implicit bias operates at the subconscious level, outside of conscious awareness, very good. Unconsciously, our behavior, right here, when you discuss them one by one, you would need to separate. If you want to put it all in one sentence, you cannot use a comma like that because it basically results in a long run-on sentence. So you're better off using a semicolon, right? If you want to put it all in one sentence, not a comma. Otherwise, the sentence becomes ungrammatical. So the first reason, of course, alternatively, what you can do is just split it into 3 separate sentences and use cohesive devices. First, second, third, you can do that. Unconsciously, our behavior is inconsistent with our beliefs. You want to check the spelling here. And implicit biases. Okay, so is that the second reason then? Our behavior is inconsistent with our beliefs. Okay, you've tried to paraphrase. The speaker says our behavior runs counter to our stated beliefs. Okay, that's fine. Here you probably need a comma, a semicolon. And third, implicit biases are triggered through rapid and automatic what? You're missing something here. Rapid and automatic, you need a noun here, right? Probably, maybe associations would be a good one. Through automatic and rapid associations. Okay, fine. So here you would include punctuation, and I think the best way would be just to split it into 3 separate sentences. Start with like a linking word additionally of what, first, second, third, something like that. Okay, so I would just say punctuation or start a new sentence. It's up to you how you want to do it. Moreover, he argues that there are 3 reasons why implicit bias is important. Again, very similar here. The comma will not do. See, in the previous sentence, you use the colon, which is good. If you want to do it that way, you can. So either use a colon here and then list the three reasons, or again, as I was saying with the previous long sentence, you can split it up into 3. Moreover, he argues there are 3 reasons. Here you would put a full stop, and then you would just carry on. Firstly, secondly, thirdly. Actually, you have done that here, right? So you're probably better off putting a full stop right here, and then start a new sentence. Okay, so that's what I'm going to put down here. Start new sentence. Okay. Firstly, implicit bias focus gives us a much more expensive diagnosis. Why expensive? You probably misheard what he said. Expensive is completely different than what he was talking about. He probably said expansive or expanded or something like that. Basically, he's trying to say a more detailed diagnosis of the challenges. And here, you can do that in academic language, piling up nouns, what is called attributive use of nouns. You can do that, but in this case, it's a little bit awkward. Implicit bias focus. You mean focus on implicit bias, right? So you can use a prepositional phrase here. I think that's better. Even though academic language does indeed, you often see that in academic style, nouns used attributively. And sometimes really is a grouping of several nouns, but in this case, it sounds a bit awkward. It gives us a much more expansive or expanded diagnosis. Now, here, remember, we're also, while writing these summaries, we're trying to avoid plagiarism. So you can just really phrase it with your own words. You don't have to repeat the wording of, in fact, you shouldn't repeat the wording of the speaker. So if he mentions an expansive diagnosis of the challenges, we can just rephrase it, right? So maybe first we need to become more aware of our own biases, something like that. You could say it in your own words, right? Secondly, we need a prevention approach around issues of bias and difference. Okay. Lastly, an implicit bias approach helps to reduce shame. Okay. You can maybe add a little bit here. It's not very clear what kind of shame we're talking about. Maybe you can say that we need to learn to openly discuss our biases without shame, something like that. So maybe expand a little bit to make it more clear what kind of shame is it that we're talking about. But overall, so far, other than the sentence structure issue, everything else seems logical. The flow of your paragraph is good. You're basically following the structure of the video. You're discussing the 3 characteristics, then the 3. They're really recommendations, and you could. I know he uses the word reason, but you could call them recommendations because that's what they really are. So far everything is quite well structured. So well done in terms of the structure in this paragraph. Some of these biases may often have an impact on how we treat others and may even lead to the exclusion of those who are different. Yes, this is very good. I would just put this right after you've introduced the speaker and the main idea. right? This will make a very good introduction to the discussion of biases. So you want to move that up a little bit, maybe right here, right? And then furthermore, hawk it, or the speaker mentions, and you can carry on like that, right? In conclusion, the speaker goes on to propose what he considers to be effective solutions to the problem of the suppression of difference, okay, and concludes that if we do the internal change work that we need to make the external change work possible, again, it's, see, this long sentence becomes a little bit awkward. So maybe you want to reduce the word count here, because it's a little bit wordy and repetitive. Concludes, conclusion, you can just say it more simply. And again, there is no need to repeat his exact wording. Remember, we're also trying to avoid plagiarism. So in your own words, what does that mean, this last point? You know, the speaker, what does he say? Basically, he suggests that we should start from within, from inside. We should work on our own biases first, something like that, right? Before we can. And again, external change is exactly the wording that he uses. You don't have to repeat that. We need to start with ourselves. We need to get serious about working on our own biases. Then maybe we can produce positive change in the world or something like that, right? Basically, you can use your own wording and simplify this, because right now the sentence structure is a little bit awkward. So use your own phrasing, right? Okay. And make it a little bit more concise. But generally, you have ended well. I mean, this is exactly what he's saying at the end. So if you can find a way to paraphrase it, that'd be great. Okay, so yeah, very good structure. Work on the first sentence though. Remember, we really want to include the main idea in an argumentative way, right? We have to state the main idea as an argument. He claims that, he argues that. How would you finish then the sentence after you've said with a that clause? He argues that. What is the argument? Okay. You've used quite a few cohesive devices, which is good. Secondly, lastly, practically every sentence starts with a cohesive device. Again, if you want more variation, I mean, these are very good devices you've used, cohesive linking words. You could also use phrases, right? So for instance, when you move on from characteristics, which is sort of the first half of the video, to the reasons or recommendations, here maybe you could say something like, having discussed the three characteristics, the speaker goes on to, so instead of a single word, you could use a more extended linking phrase, right? Maybe an ing clause. That'll make it nice, and this is also part of academic style. But overall, pretty good work. It's clear, your writing is quite clear. I would say work on sentence structure, particularly on the longer sentences. But overall, good work. I hope this is helpful, Dinala. Good luck.